G'day guys and welcome back today to Freo Faithful for another edition of the Oppo View. We are facing Port Adelaide this weekend. So who else could I get on other than Zay Burnell? No, it's not Zay Burnell. It's my good mate, Anthony Alessiani, the pair. Thanks for joining us, mate. How you going?
It's good to be on, mate. Thanks for the warm welcome. And I think Zay's got me covered in the goatee, but happy to be on.
Mate, absolutely love these Port creators. Doing great things, and I can't lie, it is very entertaining watching you guys ramble on after, however long of Ken Hinkley and the results that you're having this year. I don't like to see you upset, Anthony, but it is kind of funny. What's going on at Port? Why is so diabolical at the moment?
Yeah, look, it's crazy to think that we're in this position. It's terrible at the moment, to be honest. But hey, it's typical of Port. We get everyone's hopes up and tear the dream down, never tear us apart style. But
always tear us apart style.
Yeah, we're always tearing apart unless we're playing Hawthorn, who seem to always don't like us. But it is what it is. It's been a frustrating start to the year, but nothing better than a trip to Perth to fix that all up.
Have you had any really convincing wins this year? Because I know you've had some really big losses. Like the Bulldogs and Geelong are two good teams, but you never want to be getting pumped by that much on your home deck. I haven't, when I think of Port this season, I can only really think of losses. That Essendon loss, the showdown, the two I just mentioned, the Collingwood game. There hasn't really been too much to cheer about this year.
Yeah, I think besides that Hawthorn win in Gather Round and maybe the Swans win at the SCG, which is always a tough trip, I think those two were definitely ones that I took a lot out of. I thought maybe they were turning points, considering we had those big losses to the Pies, and then I think Essendon and St Kilda were definitely not fun results, but those two wins were pretty convincing, I thought, at the time. But Port Adelaide would be great car salesmen because they sell the dream. There's a lot of faults, especially early on. So, it's disappointing, but we'll continue to see how this one pans out. There's still plenty of time in the year, and I hate to be the optimism, but the Monday, Tuesday of the weeks, I always far out. It's the end of the world. Thursday, Friday comes around, and it's like, oh, hang on a second, maybe we're a chance.
Yeah. Yeah, you've got plenty of talent on that list. It's just, it doesn't feel like it's clicking at the moment. But you look at your team on paper, and it's still very strong. You've had Freo's number over the past few years, particularly. You beat us twice last year. I think we were the better team away last year at the Adelaide Oval when Horn Francis turned it on late. He won't be playing this week. How do you see your boys matching up against Freo, and what have you made about the Dockers this year?
Look, it's a funny thing because you mentioned we've had the wood on you the last couple of years. I think we've won the last 4 games against the Dockers. Obviously last year the close one at the Adelaide Oval, and then the last round of the year as well to knock you out of the finals contention, which is definitely something that would be lingering around still as a feeling. But funny thing about streaks is they always come to an end. The most famous ones are, for example, The Undertaker and the Kennett Curse, things like that. So, it's crazy, actually. We've had a few streaks this year. We've won the last 8 or 9 against Essendon. I think the last 8 or 9 against the Saints, and they both ended. I think the Dogs was another streak. So, if the form gives anything, you're going to win by about 80 points this week. So, I reckon... Yeah, it's hard to predict sort of what's going to happen this week, especially Freo being someone that's been up and down as well. But it's enticing.
100%. Yeah, we have been up and down this year. You're right. And speaking of streaks, we snapped our own streak on the weekend. We beat the Giants away at NG Stadium for the first time. I'm not getting too up and about, Anthony, because that St Kilda loss hurt me hard, and I'm sure the St Kilda loss at home wouldn't have felt too nice either, especially when you see him go over to Optus and lose to West Coast. So we're all in this same basket case together. I'm really scared of Port when Horne-Francis plays. Even in the Indigenous All-Stars game, he was the one that really tore us up, his explosiveness, that big body that he has. What's going on with your midfield at the moment? Because I know Rosie's been playing off half back a lot. Obviously, you've still got Wines and those sorts of guys. But how do you see the midfield battle taking place? And just a quick one before you get into that. Is Zach Butters going to stay at the Power?
The old Zachy boy. Look, honestly, if we keep going the way we're going, I don't think so. I think he'll definitely stay out his contract.
When does his contract end?
2026. So end of next year. I don't think he's publicly stated that he's going to honour his contract at the very least. And look, I think he does stay till the end of that. After that, I have no idea. Like it's tough to predict because the way we're going at the moment, the end of Ken, if the way this season keeps going the way that we're going, I think it ends up being bottom 4, bottom 6. So it's tough to sort of, especially with Zach. But hey, I think with him, I have no idea, Drew. So
Fair enough. Talk to me about. Talk to me about. I think the dog just said you're going to get flogged. No, that's a cheaper. That was so shit. Talk to me about the midfield battle then. Who's going to go to who? And do you think Freo's midfield can get on top of the pair?
Yeah, look, it's a good matchup, but I think this is where it's interesting because with us losing Horne-Francis this week with his hamstring, it's kind of difficult to see how we do match up. Does Rosie go back into the midfield from the half back? Does Bergman keep his spot as a midfielder, or does he go down back? I know the second half of last week against the Cats, he went down back and cost. I think he gave Jeremy Cameron like 6 goals and cost me about 50 fantasy points. But it was, it's one of those ones where I think the Dockers have the better matchup here, like Brayshaw, Sarong, even Clark off the halfback. There's players, there's ball movements that really just do penetrate and go direct. And when you've got someone like Josh Tracy up forward, it's kind of hard to see anyone stopping that competitively for 4 quarters. I still think our midfield has an attacking option. Butters, Rosie, Drew's in there. Ollie Wines is having arguably one of his better years as a player since his Brownlow. And we'll Drews, I don't know if you know this, but sometimes when the punishment comes and you're 4 and 6 and you need desperate times, you call upon your legends. We've got a 37-year-old and Trav Boak to come in this week. So I think you're screwed.
Yeah, right, your man. Has he been out injured or?
Yeah, a few weeks he's been out with a back injury. Played sample footy last week and got 36 touches in it. So I think he'll be back in this week. But I hate playing in Perth, man.
Well, you've got it right there. Well, last time you played really well, but that was a different time for you. You guys are probably in the worst form that you've been in under Ken Hinkley, but that doesn't mean anything because the Saints were getting pumped every week and they beat us. The D's were 0-5 and they beat us. So I'm not going to say that we're absolutely going to beat you at all. You mentioned Brayshaw and Sarong there, but I think one of our biggest threats at the moment is Shea Bolton. He had 25 disposals or 24 and kicked 3 goals, 3. Took the absolute piss. I don't know if you have an answer for him. Is it Bergman operating as... There we go. Point finished. UCAT was saying that Bergman's been operating as a sub, but I feel like Drew was for a while as well, right?
We had... Drewy's been the one that's been the go-to in terms of taking that midfielder.
The tag. I think I said sub, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they might as well be because, they're not doing too much. But, in all seriousness, it's Willem Drew that's been doing the majority of the tag. We had Bergman do a job on Dawson, but I think that's majority for the fact that that matchup actually suited a Bergman type to play on him, not so much a Drew. But with your midfield, I think Drew's a better sort of player to attest to a Sarong or... even Brayshaw. I don't think we've got a matchup set for for Shai Bolton. I think it's more predominantly just a team defence kind of thing with him trying to win the tap, win the clearances, keep the ball out of his hands, basically. Anywhere in the forward half, as long as he doesn't have the footy, we might be a bit more confident and feel a lot better. But yeah, I think
he's a hard player to stop.
Oh yeah, when he's on, he's on. I hope he has an off night, because when he does have an off night, he's pretty poor. But
yeah.
When he's
some people criticise him of being a bit of a downhill skier, but I think he's really coming into some great form at the moment. Had a bit of an interrupted preseason, but he really does seem to be building. So hopefully he can stay injury free all year. You were speaking about guys like Jordan Clark, and Cooper Simpson's another one that comes with that ball movement for us off half back. We did move the ball better against GWS. You got guys like Farrell who tends to sort of look like a good kick, but Rosie's played a bit of halfback this year. Is the ball movement of the Power a bit of a concern at the moment, or what's the go there?
Yeah, I think it's a game style thing, because we've been so used to Dan Houston being an integral part of our ball movement from half back, whether he's taking the kick-ins in a set mark or running, doing the flybys and really making sure that kick going from half back to half forward is penetrating enough. And we've also lost Kane Farrell to a knee injury for a month or so as well. So
when did that happen?
Happened during the showdown. So he missed the Cats game last week.
Yeah, right.
So he's another one, an integral part of our ball movement that he will have that penetrating kick it long inside 50, have a chance at kicking a goal, and our ball movement has come from. If it's shut down from Rosie, you're looking at Ryan Burton, Logan Evans. These players that you trust with the footy, but having the pressure full on them is kind of hard. So, yeah, we've lost Farrell. Houston got to traded. Sean Francis is out. God, it's diabolical when you spell it out, isn't it?
Sounds like a Port win's coming up, to be honest. I feel like your backs get criticised a lot, particularly Aliir, right? Like, he gets called out a lot as your big key defender. I feel like the narrative around him is like he can sort of defend space, but one-on-one he gets exposed a little bit. I'm not sure if I particularly subscribe to that. You'd know better, but you've got Radagalier down there as well. He's a big man. Is he a great player? Probably a little bit inconsistent, but you look at our forward line with Amos, who had a good game, Tracy and Voss, the Bash brothers. Could have Sean Darcy back. Not that we necessarily want to see him back, given our side looks a lot better without him in it, but we're going to have a lot of tools playing on Saturday night. How do you see those matchups looking, and where can we get you?
Look, it's a fascinating thing with the tools, because I think, I thought we were going to play a three-headed monster in defence against the Crows, and we didn't eventuate with it. We've got Brandon Zerk-Thatcher to come back in. He's been playing a lot of sample footy and hasn't featured yet, especially after a back injury. So I think with him, it's going to be one of those things. He might come in to take up a tool. I hope Bergman doesn't play down back, because he has been prolific in the midfield when he has had his opportunity, and I think Aliir and Sava have been workhorses this year, and they've been just come undone either from poor decision making up the ground or just straight out of the middle under pressure straight away. Then they've been under the pump the whole time. Their mistakes are exploited a lot more when it comes to them, under pressure than when it comes to
being set up type thing.
When it's a slow burn, Port Adelaide control the game better than anyone. When it's a fast break, we suck.
Yeah, fair play. We got exposed against Collingwood in that exact way, that fast break counter-attack football, because we do have some big defenders as well. Now we look at your forward line. I love your small forwards, particularly Willie Rioli. I think he's one of the more underrated small forwards in the competition, and we saw that. We've seen it for the Power, but particularly Freo fans in his time at West Coast. Power Pepper, super underrated player, was out all last season with injury, but a true X-factor, game-breaking player. Mitch Georgiades, a WA boy, and then Ollie Lord. I'm just looking at your team sheet here. Have they been operating well, or I suppose they haven't really because you've been kicking about 5 goals a week, but what's the go with your forward line, and which Freo defenders you think can step up?
Yeah, I think if there's one defence that we can sort of break through and try and exploit a bit, it is the Freo Dockers. I think
it's the Freo Dockers. If there's one in the whole world, in the whole wide world, it's the Dockers.
See, I knew you'd bite at that. No, it's a hard matchup because Cox and Ryan have been strong this year, especially in the wins that you guys have played. They've been really, really strong. I think with fast ball movement, you can probably break them a bit. I think the Collingwood game is sort of a prime example of it. Like, you get them out the back and you can really exploit the one-on-one matchup. I think that's something Port Adelaide might want to try and use. But yeah, I think it'll be hard for Georgiades and Lord to sort of kick a winning score. We're going to need little chip-ins, 2-3 goals from Burne-Jones, Richards, Rioli, the young kids in Moraes, and I think Joe Berry might be a chance to come back this week too. So, and this might be, the game where Joe Berry comes back in and finally plays a decent game at AFL level, and it's against the side that we're looking at him in the draft.
Yeah. Joe Berry was when in the lead up to the draft, I went to the Vic Metro versus Vic Country Championship game, and he was by far for me the standout player on the ground. That Dylan Moore, Sam Switkowski type small forward, but yeah, really great in the air. I was going to ask you about Christian Moraes as well, who I saw play at Box Hill last year pretty closely. Didn't know how well he'd go at the AFL level, but speak about ball movement, that kid is a great user of the ball. We have Murphy Reid on our side, another Victorian product, who would have played a lot with those guys. What have you made of Christian Moraes and Joe Berry in their first year of footy?
Yeah, I would think Moraes has been probably the standout, to be honest. With him and his ability to be able to have an impact when he comes on, whether he's a sub or whether he's been, starting. I know early on he was really, really good. That loss against Essendon at Marvel probably deserved to earn him a Rising Star nomination. Didn't get it, unfortunately. But yeah, I think our youngsters have sort of been given good opportunities. Tommy Cochrane, who was off the rookie list, was a really positive player before he got injured. Joe Berry hasn't performed to the standard that we probably have expected from a top 15 pick, but he's still been proactive and productive in the sample, and his development will come. So I think if you look at the way our season's going, we're going to get to a position where we need to start just blooding kids and preparing for Josh Carr to take over. And, if there's a debutant in Jack Whitlock this week, or someone you wouldn't expect to come in, there's strong opportunities. Even Hugh Jackson's been on the list for the last couple of years. He hasn't
Hugh
played
Jackman.
If Wolverine played, let me tell you, we'd somehow still find a way to lose.
It's crazy to think that, I feel like Port have pretty much contended since what feels like 2014. You've had seasons where you've dropped out of the 8, but you've always been there or thereabouts in the home and away season, and you've, narrowly missed out on grand finals. You've made prelims. You've had some poor finals displays as well, but you've always sort of been there. Do you feel like your window's closing? Because I feel like Rosie, Butters, Horn Francis, Georgiades were going to be that sort of wave to keep you up and bring you up, but with the, I suppose, loss of Houston and Boak's getting on, Wines is getting on, guys like that, and then maybe some of your inclusions like Lukosius and Atkins haven't necessarily been what you wanted. So how do you see your list as a whole? Do you think you can still contend in the next few years, or do you think it's going to be a down couple of years for the Power? I love how you laugh when you're like, here we go.
I can't predict with Port. It's one of those things where I can't really stop thinking about how every single time we might end up looking like we need a rebuild, and all of a sudden we're back to the top. I think if there's ever a time we're finally going to bottom out, it's this one. New coach, regroup, reset, do a fast rebuild, take a couple of years, go again. You'll still have Rosie, Butters, Horne-Francis in their prime in a couple of years. So maybe that's the ploy. Honestly, with our list, I think we're finally coming to an end of that. I agree with the Wines, the Boaks, the Burtons, these players that 5-6 years ago were coming, or Burton came into the club from a trade, and Boak and Wines have had career best years over the last 5-6 years. So I think with our list at the moment, I would point towards a rebuild, a bottom out, and not contending. But then again, Port Adelaide are just one of those clubs that you think that maybe finally it's time they're done. And all of a sudden, a new coach, fresh start, and bang, they're back to the top. But if I was to sit here right now, I don't think we're anywhere near it.
Well, like I said from the top, I think you guys still do have a really good list. Like the names that we've spoken about, you've added Berry and Moraes, but Butters, Horne-Francis, Georgiades. I think, Rioli and Pau Peppers who'll have plenty of footy left to play. I haven't really seen too much of Josh Sin, but he was another higher draft pick. You've got plenty at your disposal, and being a SA club, you're always going to have plenty of pull, given, it's a two-team town, much like WA. I always thought it was a disadvantage being a WA or an SA club, but when there's players that want to go home, you're a much larger chance of landing a big fish compared to a team like North Melbourne, St Kilda, the Dogs, Melbourne, like those smaller Victorian clubs. And, you don't really ever see big name players go to those ones that I just mentioned. But we will not tangent. We'll stay on the game. Give me a score prediction or a margin prediction, and how do you see the game going in 3 sentences or less?
I think this game in particular will be a game won by territory. I think this is a game that Freo need to win for the sake of their season to be credible. I think Port Adelaide need to win for the sake of they don't need Alberton burnt down from their fans. So my
that's 3 sentences. Alberton's going to burn down. All right, thanks. No, give me a score prediction.
I know where you live.
No, you don't.
Anyway, 77-49, Freo win.
Yes. I think it'll be a low-scoring affair as well. Apparently, it's going to be wet.
Is it going to be wet? Well, then.
It's going to be wet. Do you want to change your prediction?
49, Port Adelaide.
I played in the wet for Wattle Park this past weekend. First time playing in the rain in ages. It wasn't just rain. It was like bucketing. Like the heavens opened up. It was freezing. I couldn't get to the bench quick enough to hop under the bunker and hop in a blanket. But hopefully the Freo boys don't have the same mindset as me. I'm going to tip the Dockers to get the job done in a 82-48. What's that for a margin? About 37. 6 goals sounds about right. And hopefully we see some more magic from our smalls. Michael Frederick had a great game on the weekend. Murphy Reed got back into it as well. So slippery conditions, I expect a lot from those guys. But I appreciate you joining me, Anthony. Big Anthony Alessiani, the pair, one of the OGs of the YouTube game. We've done stuff for years on years. It's good to chat with you again. It's always good to have you on the channel in any capacity. And proud of the journey that you're on, mate. Keep smashing it, and good things will keep coming your way.
Thank you, mate. Appreciate you having me on. And I just got one question for you before I go. I know we've been together for a while now, and I just wanted to ask: is that Druzy from the Div 12 Rezzies?
Yeah, baby, that's me.
The Galloping Galantis
that runs like a giraffe on roller
Giselle
skates.
with 3 legs.
That is me. That's me. And I'll be in Adelaide in 18 days, I think it is, playing at Norwood Oval in front of 10,000 people. So can't wait for that. Hopefully see some of you guys down there. Thanks for joining me for the Oppo View, Anthony. All the best on the weekend, and hopefully Freo get the chocolates.
Can the pair. Thanks, mate.
Can Freo.